Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Monday. It's November 4th. It is 2024. We have an 8-game NBA slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by Timothy Buell, TastefulTides in the DFS streets. Tim, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, not much, Stevie. Pretty brutal NFL slate for me. I did okay in cash games, but my GPP team, my three main teams were not great. So it was not a very good NFL Sunday for me. How about you? Did you win the Listeners League?
I did for like the second time in the last 4 weeks. So
that's awesome, man.
yeah, it's great when you can not let people win. I'm just kidding. I am definitely not a heel, right? I feel like I am not a heel, but anyway, yeah, took that down. That was my main team, so it was a really good day for me. Scored over 190 points on DK. Having a good day on FanDuel as well. Need Pittman to do a little bit and make a little bit more money on FanDuel. That'd be great, but I mean Pittman to do anything really. NASCAR is pretty good as far as DFS betting. Another brutal week where I looked really good, like 75% of the way through the race in the betting streets, and then it just didn't work out. So it's been a weird year for betting, but it's been a fantastic year for fantasy in NASCAR streets, and the race was wild. What a crazy end to the last race before the championship next weekend. So looking forward to Phoenix in the NASCAR streets. And
they don't do it. They don't do it at Homestead anymore.
No, Homestead was last weekend.
Okay.
So I definitely missed the Homestead race. The Homestead race last weekend was great. So yeah, I love when they go to Homestead. And I know people are going to be like, "Hey, Stevie, this is a huge slate on FanDuel." Yeah, it is. You're right. I'm not playing on FanDuel today. I do not like NBA slates over 10 games, and I'll talk about them. Right? Well, I will. But I'm not on premium content today, and I love the DK slate. Didn't like the FanDuel slate, and FanDuel put their slate up like right before we got rolling, and I was like, yeah, no, didn't have enough time to look through it all, so we're just gonna stick with the DraftKings slate today. I know I've been trying to mix the FanDuel slate in and trying to get those late games in. Not today. Today we're focusing on DK. Is Hamlin in the finals? Hamlin is not in the finals, so it's Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron. That is the final four for NASCAR. We got 8 games back on the NBA streets after taking the weekend off. No slate on Tuesday, I'm pretty sure. It's voting on Tuesday, and they don't have a slate on Tuesday, so we'll be back Wednesday. Let's jump in, have some fun. We got Milwaukee at Cleveland, 228.5 total. Cleveland a 7-point favorite. What do you like here? Oh, Giannis questionable, Middleton out on the Cleveland side. LeVert questionable, Strus out, Tyson out. Let's go Milwaukee first. What do you like here for the Bucks?
Yeah, well, obviously the Giannis news is gigantic. That would really alter the entire slate. If he's out, obviously we get the guys, like all the Bucks, like Lillard, like Portis. Definitely would be firmly in play in all formats. But if Giannis plays, I mean, the Bucks are really struggling. I mean, they've lost their last 5 games. They started off the season with a win, and Cleveland's undefeated. So I mean, this is a tough spot for them. But they just played this same exact matchup, and Giannis went for 71 fantasy points. So you certainly can get to him again. There's not a lot of value yet on this slate, but I'm sure that some will open up. So if there is value, then Giannis is obviously a top raw point play on the slate.
I like Lillard too. I think Lillard very much in play here. Point guards against Cleveland. Small sample size. We're very early in the season, but some point guards have definitely performed well against Cleveland. So definitely something that we're watching moving forward. But Lillard, like you mentioned, Giannis had a huge game. Lillard had a big game too. He had 66 fantasy points the other night. He hit 10 threes, shot 10 for 15 from the 3-point line, was 1 assist away from a double-double. So the ceiling is high for Dame. Definitely like him. whether Giannis plays or not, I like Dame. Obviously, I like him a lot more if Giannis is out. But I'm worried about this game staying close if Giannis doesn't play either. I mean, Cleveland, like you said, they've been absolutely fantastic. If Giannis sits, you're looking at Portis for sure. I think that, Trent and Prince would become playable as well. Prince is 4,400. He's borderline playable if Giannis plays, but he definitely in play for me if Giannis is out. Cleveland side of this game, like you said, these teams just played. What do you like here on the Cleveland side?
So obviously you can get to the standard, Donovan Mitchell 8,200, Darius Garland 7,100. Really kind of depends on the LeVert situation though. We just don't know yet. Obviously more inclined to play Garland if LeVert is out. But really, I feel like this team does a really good job of like spreading out their usage. So like guys like Mobley, Allen, they kind of like cannibalize each other a little bit. But they do seem like Mobley seems a little bit underpriced, but it's not really not a good matchup. So it really depends on injury news. But as of right now, I don't have a whole lot of interest in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, just a good basketball team.
Yeah.
All the way around. They play really good defense. I feel like Mitchell and Garland have upside. Allen and Mobley have upside in certain matchups. Chat's talking about wings versus Milwaukee being great. That's a thing for sure. But Okoro is not that guy. Dean Wade is not that guy. So I don't think this is necessarily the matchup we want to take advantage of, like wings against Milwaukee. Milwaukee's been struggling. I mean, Cleveland came back and beat them the other night. Milwaukee definitely dominated the first half of that game. I mean, the first quarter and a half anyway. So yeah, I mean, current prices, I don't think I end up on anybody in this matchup for Cleveland today. If Giannis sits and if LeVert sits, with LeVert being questionable, I could potentially, if LeVert sits, maybe get to, maybe taking a couple shots on a guy like Mitchell or Garland, just because like they typically will let one of them run with the first unit until towards the end of the first quarter, and then they'll check the other one out and let them come back and play with the second unit. So typically the usage with the second unit is between Mitchell and Garland still, and then you'll get guys like Sam Merrill who will get a bunch of shots up with that second unit. But yeah, I mean, LeVert didn't play the other night, and it wasn't a huge bump to anybody. So I don't think that is a make or break point on this slate. Golden State at Washington, 9.5 total for Golden State, 231.5 total overall. Curry questionable, Melton out. On the Washington side, Bagley questionable, Bay out, Brogdon out, Kuzma out. Curry matters for sure. I think that, that's one of the news. Luckily, this game's a 7:15 game, not a 7 o'clock game. So obviously we were watching the news on this one to see what happens here with Steph, whether or not he plays or not. I personally think that he'll sit one more game. He did miss 3 games with an ankle. It was an ankle sprain or strain or something. So, I mean, listen, even if Curry plays, he hasn't played more than 27 minutes in a game yet this season. So I don't think he's like a big make or break, but it also, like, if he's out, it opens up a lot for other opportunities for other shots for other people. Really, though, like, we haven't seen a huge uptick with Curry out. I mean, Buddy Hield had 44 fantasy points the other night. He did have 42 of those fantasy points before overtime. So, like, he did not really benefit too much from the overtime. Kuminga and Kyle Anderson were the two that benefited from overtime the other night. I think Podsy fouled out or something, right? If I remember correctly. So, yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts when it comes to the Warriors here?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the Curry news. If we assume that he's out, which I kind of do agree with you, I think he will set one more game. I do like Podziemski at 6,300. This is a really good team to attack, this Wizards team. They're second overall in pace. They are 25th overall in defensive rating. So, I mean, we're going to be streaming against this Wizards team all season. And if Curry were to sit, I do like Pajemski quite a bit. I almost don't even mind, like, I know it sounds bad, but I mean, I think Draymond, this is a really good rebounding spot. So I think Draymond would be interesting at 6,100. I wouldn't mind even playing Buddy Hield in large field GPPs at 6,600. So I think, depending on Curry, this is definitely a situation that I want to be attacking Washington.
Yeah, I want to attack Washington too. It's just really tough for me because these guys are all priced appropriately. I don't think Draymond has a huge ceiling at his price point. Kuminga's minutes, like if Kuminga was playing 33, 34 minutes a game, I definitely would want to play him at 6,200. His point per minute fantasy production has been really solid. It's just, again, like you really worry about like where his overall minutes are. Yeah, I mean, Buddy Hield, 6,600, great spot. Like you mentioned, going up against Washington. I don't see a lot of value on the Golden State side, even in this incredible matchup. They're still playing very deep. Like their benches very deep, and I mean, we don't necessarily want to call it. I don't want to call it very deep as far as like talented, but they're using a lot of people. I mean, even the other night against Houston in the game they won in overtime, 11 people played. Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 people played at least 10 minutes in that game.
Yep.
And only 4 of them played over 30 minutes, and that was because of overtime. I mean, if that game doesn't go to overtime, Draymond and Podsy are the only 2 that would have played over 30 minutes. So I agree on your take on Podsy. I think this is a fantastic matchup for him. He is getting a ton of minutes. If Curry sits, Podsy very much in play for me. On the Washington side, I mean, we're still dealing with like Kuzma being out. We'll see if Bagley plays or not, but even when he's played this year, it's been very limited minutes. I don't think it matters too much. I think Jordan Poole is really interesting in this spot, getting a matchup against his former team. Sarr has been awesome, in like if he just got a little bit more run, I think that he would have a huge ceiling, but I definitely don't mind taking shots on him in this spot. Kolobi with Kuzma out has been fantastic as well. And then Corey Kispert, he has some upside at 4,900. He'll have those games where he shoots really well from 3, where he makes 4 or 5 threes and crushes. So I don't mind Washington. I think this is a game that is high scoring. And I definitely think I like the Washington side more than the Golden State side.
Yeah, I mean, I only had 2 Wizards circled on my sheet, but that's a good call on Sarr. I didn't even think about him. If he got just a little bit more run, he would be fantastic in this spot. But I do love Koulibaly. He was the guy that is my first play in from the Wizards side of this game. I think this is a pretty decent spot for him. Just assuming. Poole doesn't take all the shots, right? Like Poole's going to chuck in this game. So 7,800 for Poole. He is by no means safe. The Wizards defense has looked really, really strong so far this year. They're second overall early on in the season. So, I mean, this is a little bit of a tough matchup, but I think I do love Poole for large field GPPs because he's going to take 20 shots. So if he has a shot going, he's going to crush that price tag.
All right, we got Lakers at the Pistons taking on Detroit. 227.5 total. Lakers a 6.5 point favorite. Russell questionable. Vanderbilt and Wood still out. Detroit is on the second end of a back-to-back. I assume Thompson will still be out. I don't think anybody else gets rested here. Maybe Tobias Harris, if anybody, but not typically see Tobias Harris get rested. We finally saw Duren have a great game on Sunday. Been waiting for that like breakout Duren game, and he had a 47-point game against Brooklyn on Sunday night. Let's start here with the Lakers. I mean, I can't preach it enough. I'll keep playing him. Anthony Davis. I mean, the Lakers are running the offense through him. I mean, again on Friday. Yeah, Friday he took 20 shots again. He went to the free throw line a ton. He's shooting really well to start the season, and he's averaging 31.8 points per game and 12 rebounds. I mean, he's just a walking double-double right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see I mean, AD is such a fantastic play. I don't see how the Pistons can really stop him. They don't have anybody that can really touch him. His projection, his medium projection should be around 60 on Monday slate. So, I mean, this is just a fantastic spot. I think that right now I'm kind of like tinkering between Giannis and Anthony Davis. I think it's kind of close between the two. This matchup for Davis is way, way better. I'm just kind of worried about the blowout a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think the game has, like, Detroit plays teams super hard. Do they win games? It's hit or miss, but they play teams really hard. I think you keep playing Hachimura. I love his role on this team too. He's had a couple kind of low down games against Toronto and Cleveland, but I mean, the Toronto game, it was great to see him take 12 shots again. He only shot 25% from the field. He hits a few extra shots. We're at 25-30. So I don't mind Rui. I like Anthony Davis. That's kind of where I'm at on the Lakers side. The Detroit side of this game, I really like Cade Cunningham. I mean, I haven't played Cade yet this year, and now he's 8,400. I was always talking about like 87 plus 9K. Seems like a lot. Now his price is down after kind of like two mediocre games. And if Detroit's going to keep this game close, I think Cade or Tobias or Duren are going to have big games. And I lean towards Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, Cade definitely has 50 in him in this matchup. I don't mind Duren either, though. I think if this game does stay close, Duren at 5,800 is super, super interesting. I'm going to pass on Tobias, but I completely get it at its price. Like, he could become a factor in this game. But I think it's Cade and Duren for me. But I didn't even realize the Bucks are bigger underdogs than the Pistons. So my whole blowout theory is kind of BS. So I didn't even this just seems so weird to me. I guess I don't know. I have a big decision to make between AD and Giannis. I'm not really sure yet.
I'm just gonna throw this out here. I'm kind of watching this, but Malik Beasley has been squeaking in more and more minutes with the Detroit lately. So he did start the season where he played like 28, 29, and then he had a few games where he really didn't play a lot. And then 29 minutes against Brooklyn the other night. I feel like if you're playing 150, under 4K is really always tough because it's just a position or a price point that just kind of stinks overall. But I mean, if Beasley shoots the ball well, they've been giving him minutes. So like if you take that risk and he shoots well, maybe you could play him in large field tournaments. But Cade is the guy that I really like here. He's the guy that I'm going to target in this matchup. I think it's a pay up for Cade spot today. With that said, we go to this next game. Boston and Atlanta, 234.5 total. Boston, a 10.5 point favorite. Jaylen Brown already ruled out for this game. Porzingis out. Atlanta's on the second end of a back-to-back. We'll have to kind of see. Okongwu sat the first half of this back-to-back, and we've seen him do this already this year, so it doesn't shock me that he sat the first half of this back-to-back, but, I mean, they're still being very careful with the minutes for him. Let's go to the Boston side here first. No Jaylen Brown makes me really like Derek White. I mean, yeah, you could easily go Jason Tatum, but Derek White is going to see an increase in production in this matchup with Brown off the floor.
Yeah, I ran last year's numbers with Brown and Porzingis off the floor, and White gets an 8% usage increase, $6,700. Point guard, shooting guard. He was the very first guy I circled for Boston. I was hoping there'd be props up for him. There are not, but last I looked, I'm going to be all over his combo props on Monday. Definitely a guy that I'm going to be getting to in the prop market, and definitely a guy I'm going to be playing in DFS. Atlanta is absolutely atrocious defensively. They play at a fast pace also. They're very similar to the Wizards. Derek White is definitely the guy. I mean, honestly, Tatum is obviously fantastic, and he could go for 70 here, but I mean, if I'm looking at the 5-figure mark, like I'm playing Giannis or I'm playing AD, I want to get down to Derek White as my first Celtic in.
I will say I absolutely love Peyton Pritchard today. He's probably one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. So yeah, I like Derek White too. I have no issues playing both of them together. Pritchard's been playing great and could see a few extra minutes here with Jaylen Brown out. So I think Peyton Pritchard is a great play here at 5,200. On the
Do you
Atlanta
think
side,
does Pritchard mop up? Do you think?
I think Pritchard finishes. I think they finish with Drew, Pritchard, White, Tatum, and one of Horford or Cornette.
Yeah,
That's how they finish.
Like in a blowout, though, does he get blowout run, or is he?
I don't think he's the first guy off the court.
Yeah,
for a blowout, but I think I don't know if they'd let him stay out there and play 35 minutes in a blowout, but I think we'll see. I mean, you still have to have somebody until they get down to that 3 or 4 minute mark. But I wouldn't be shocked if Atlanta keeps this game close enough. This game being in Atlanta, I think has a better chance to potentially stay close. We saw Dyson Daniels came back on Sunday. That was good for Atlanta. What do you like here for the Hawks?
I mean, nobody's really sticking out. This is a really, really brutal matchup for anybody. They are 12-point dogs at home. I'm not going to be playing Trae Young. I know that he could beat any matchup, but I'm just really not interested in paying 10-3 for him against the Celtics. I think Jalen Johnson is too expensive for this matchup. And then you get down to guys like Capella. I think Capella is somewhat interesting. He just doesn't seem to have he got 29 minutes last game, which is fantastic. So I think that would be okay if we knew he was going to get that. But yeah, I'm not really interested in any of this kind of Reese Shea or Roddy or Nance. I'm just going to pass on those guys.
Yeah, I will say this. This is a tough spot early in the season too. This is 3 and 4 nights early in the year. So that is that. I mean, that overall kind of stinks. But I think with Okongwu coming back, I don't want to play Nance. I think when Okongwu sits, you could play Nance. I mean, I think there's a direct correlation to Okongwu sitting in Nance production. If Hunter's still out, I don't mind taking shots on Roddy. He played 26 minutes off the bench on Sunday. He's just been consistently producing, and he's still 4,500. So it would really depend on what type of value we get throughout the day. But he's just a guy that has that point 15-8 type of upside at 4,500, which I think is fine. Daniels only played 25 minutes. He shot the ball really well. So could have been he was one of the first guys off the floor in the game where I don't know. I have to look at game flow. Obviously, it's not up yet, but. I mean, they could rely on their young guys here, Trae and Rushiche and Johnson in 3 and 4 nights. So I think if the game stays close, you definitely want some exposure here. I know Jalen Johnson almost had a triple-double on Sunday. I think he was 1 assist or 2 rebounds. It was something one of one and 2 of the other. Just continues to play really good basketball. So moving on, we got Memphis at Brooklyn, 225.5 total. Memphis, a 5.5-point favorite. Bane, Gigi Jackson, Kennard, Smart, Williams, and are out, and Contra is doubtful. So laundry list for Memphis today. Brooklyn on the second end of a back-to-back. I assume Bogdanovich will be out. We'll see. If Ben Simmons plays, I assume Ben Simmons sits in this game, with it being the second end of a back-to-back very early in the season. He played 24 minutes on Sunday, so I assume he sits. We'll see how that kind of plays out. Let's go to the Memphis side here first. Very short-handed Memphis team, even more short-handed now that Desmond Bane is out, Marcus Smart is out. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a spot we are definitely taking some shots on Jalen Wells and Scottie Pittman Jr., but I think Ja could take over this game and just have a huge game. What are you liking here for Memphis?
I was gonna say you're bearing the lead with Ja. I mean, this price tag for 9,300. We finally got him to see him play over 30 minutes, and that game was a blowout. So this game stays close. He should get around 35 to 36 minutes. I think that price tag is really, really good, especially with no Bane and no Marcus Smart. So he's borderline like cash game, like optimal kind of type play. So I think Jaw is going to be pretty popular, despite the fact that this isn't some like amazing matchup. But I just think the usage that he gains with no Bane is really fantastic. So, and I think this game stays competitive throughout. So, getting his full allotment of minutes. I really like the Wells call. I really like that he has shooting guard, small forward eligibility as well. He should be playing minutes, probably like right around probably 34, 33 minutes in this matchup. So, absolutely love him. His price tag is going to be really, it's a good cost saving salary at 5,100. So I do like Wells quite a bit.
Yeah, he started the other night, and I mean, with Bane and Smart out again, I assume that he starts again. Pittman and Huff were the two first off the bench the other night against Philadelphia. But yeah, I mean, his upside is definitely there. Triple J, like I feel like Jaren Jackson Jr. is just too cheap at 7,400. Like his usage through the roof. Like he could put up 40 fantasy points in any game. It's good to see Triple J and Morant getting minutes, because that's the biggest thing with these two guys when they're getting the minutes. And I think that they're just getting to the point with these guys out that they have to play these guys. So I mean, that's a big bump for these guys in this matchup. I don't even mind like Sante. I think you could take shots on him at 6,200 as well. Just a very consistent producer. Going to Brooklyn. Oh, go ahead.
I think you'd also take shots on Zach Edey. This is like a really, really good rebounding spot for Memphis. So guys like JJJ and Zach Edey, who only plays minutes like in the low 20s. We saw him put up 28 fantasy points. He's only 4,500. So I think he's a decent large field GPP play.
He finally got that double-double the other night. Yeah. The Brooklyn side here, I mean, my boy Dennis Schroeder keeps cooking. I know he had a bad game against Detroit the other night. Only 7 shot attempts in that game and a season low 4 assists. Definitely think this is a spot you could go back to Schroeder. You obviously can always take shots on Thomas. I like Schroeder even more if Simmons ends up sitting in this game, and I assume Simmons is going to sit in this game. So, yeah, I mean, Ben Simmons, big game the other night against the Bulls. I think he sits on the second end of a back-to-back here after the Detroit game.
Yeah, so I mean, Memphis is playing at a really fast pace this year, 4th overall in the league. So this is a really nice pace-up spot for Brooklyn. I agree with you. I'm assuming Simmons sits. I love Dennis Schroeder. He gets a really nice assist bump with no Simmons on the court. We've seen him go over 50, I think, 2 or 3 times this season. So 7K is not prohibitive at all. So I definitely like that call quite a bit. You can always play Cam Thomas, just because if he gets his jump shot going, he could absolutely crush. So definitely he's fine for like a larger field GPP. But really, I think that would be about it for me. I think Cam Johnson is a little bit too expensive, and I'm not going to be playing DFS at all, or guys like Clowney.
All right. We keep rolling here. We got Sacramento at Miami, 224.5 total here. Miami a 2-point favorite. Herder is questionable. That's the only injury news from this game. 2 pretty full-strength teams. We'll start with the Kings. Slower matchup here. Obviously, anytime we talk about Miami, we talk about their pace. They're 27th in pace. They're 8th in defensive rating this year. They've been great on the defensive side. They try to slow games down. The Kings have actually been playing pretty good defense to start the season. I noticed that the other day. I thought that was very interesting. And the Kings are one of the better offensive rating teams. So watch out for the Kings. They're like 6th in net rating through the first few games this year. What are your thoughts here on the Kings?
I think the only player that I have much interest in is Malik Monk. That would be about assuming Herter is out. I think Sabonis is too expensive for this matchup going up against Bam on the road. I don't have a lot of interest in Fox. So I think it would just be Monk for me in like a large field GPP. Point guard, small forward eligibility, so a really unique MPE that he has. But really, I don't have a lot of interest in the Kings.
Yeah, I think that we play the Kings a lot throughout the season. I just don't think this is the spot that we necessarily want to play them a lot. I mean, Sabonis has been excellent, and in games that have stayed close, his production has been phenomenal. His minutes have been fantastic. So I think in large field tournaments, if you wanted to be different and take a shot on a guy like Sabonis, it's a tough matchup, but his minutes, like I said, he plays more minutes in close games. Love the role for Keegan Murray. I just don't love the matchup. He would be the other guy that I would potentially, if I was going to play like, 20 or 150, those would be the two guys that I'd be taking shots on if I was going to play a bunch of teams today. Going to the Miami side, I mean, Sacramento definitely going to try to push the pace a little bit for Miami. But, I mean, again, Miami is a pretty just sound basketball team. We don't see a lot of upside when you're looking at Miami as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously is a nice pace-up matchup for the Heat, but, I mean, it's not exactly I mean, the Kings are decent defensively, so not really anyone that's really sticking out price-wise. I think Hero is okay. Bam's price keeps falling, but it's still not the like best matchup for him. So I would just keep an eye on that price tag for the coming couple of days. But really, Hero I think is my favorite play. Butler you can always play at 7,500. He probably has the best matchup. But really, I don't want to get to a lot of heat here.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of touch on your point, right? Like, Hero has a 27% usage rate, and then there are four other guys with a usage rate between 21 and 24%. So they really spread out the production on this team. I think Tyler Hero is the guy that when he's shooting good, you could see him have huge games. I mean, against the Knicks the other night, he had 8 threes and he kept shooting. So, I mean, those are the types of games you want to see from Tyler Hero. Against Washington the other night, his pace-up spot, they just kind of blew Washington out. I like Tyler Hero in pace-up spots. Definitely don't mind him in this one. Utah at Chicago, 227.5 total in this one. Chicago is 7-point favorite. Clarkson out, Hendricks out, Markkanen questionable, Ball out, Levine questionable on the Chicago side. Later game here on the DraftKings slate. Obviously, we're watching this Markkanen news. It could be big. With him being questionable, I wouldn't be shocked if he misses this game. He has been dealing with an injury. What do we like here with Markkanen in and with Markkanen out?
With Markkanen in, he might be limited, which would kind of like ruin this game a little bit from the Utah side. But with him out, I think you can continue, and with Clarkson out, keep going back to guys like Colin Sexton. It's a really great spot. Chicago plays the fastest pace in all basketball. They're trying to do that all season long. They're tired of being like a slow team, so they're just going to be playing up tempo all season. So guys like Colin Sexton, I absolutely love in this spot. I think Filipowski would be an interesting value play for Utah. If Sexton's going to be popular like he has been, especially on like Sexton's been super popular on FanDuel. Keontae George has been like an interesting pivot off of Sexton if he gets chalky. And then I don't mind Walker Kessler also. I like him in this spot quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Kessler, if Markkanen's out, his rebounding stock goes way up. He's basically the rebounder out there. Drew Eubanks would probably play like 18 to 22 minutes off the bench. If Markkanen sits, I don't mind taking shots on Juzang. He played 26 and a half minutes the other night against Denver, and only 4 of those 27 minutes came in garbage time. So, I mean, 23 minutes before the game was like very much out of hand. So, I don't mind him here at 3,500. Very cheap, large field boomer bust play if Markkanen sits, because like Clarkson is out still. But again, Utah kind of playing pretty deep right now. I mean, Keontae George is playing really solid minutes. Kessler is playing really solid minutes. And then Markkanen, but they're kind of spreading out the minutes outside of that. Some of these teams still just don't know what they want their rotations to look like. We're still 2 weeks into the season. So a lot of adjusting and a lot of stuff going on that aspect. Let's go to the Bulls side of this game. LaVine matters a ton for me because Utah is a great matchup. We've been talking about attacking Utah all season. They are 7th in pace, and they continue to struggle on the defensive side. They're bottom 10. What do we like here for Chicago?
Well, if LaVine goes, I absolutely love him. I've been talking about him all season. That $7,200 price tag is too low. He should be more like $8,500 in my opinion. Shooting guard, small forward, I love that. So definitely LaVine. I'm going to be looking to see what his props are tomorrow also. I just love him in the spot. I love Vucevic in this spot also. And then if LaVine sits, it's like you can give me all the Kobe White, all the Josh Giddey, because they're both going to be in the fantastic spots. I think this game is a really, really great game to stack, just because this game should be just like full of fantasy points on both sides. So I really like doing like a 2-2 of this game.
A lot of potential here if LaVine plays and Markkanen. Like if Markkanen and LaVine said that there's a lot of potential. I think LaVine plays. I like Zach LaVine, like you mentioned, if he plays. I mean, Josh Giddey has triple-double upside. This is a guy that's very capable of triple-doubles. We've seen him get double-digit rebounds in 2 of the last 3 games. So I don't hate Josh Giddey either in this spot. And then if LaVine sits, Kobe White would be one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Really like him when Zach LaVine's out. I know he hasn't had that ceiling game yet, but it's very possible. All right, we finish out with New York Knicks at the Houston Rockets, 218.5 total here. The Knicks a 3.5 point favorite. Precious out, Mitch Rob out, Payne doubtful, and then Steven Adams questionable for Houston. Don't think that really matters. We'll go to the Knicks side here first. Karl-Anthony Towns starting to get rolling with the Knicks here. What do you like here for New York?
Yeah, so both of these teams are incredibly slow paced. That should not really change throughout the season. So I don't love this game. By far the lowest total on the slate also. But Towns is too cheap at 8K. Like he's just can easily go for 50 every single night. So I do not mind him at all. Brunson is interesting at 8,300. I mean, he could easily go for 50 every single night also. Hart's price is starting to climb. I don't love this matchup. Not really that interested in Hart or Bridges. And definitely not interested in any of the cheaper pieces. So really it's just Brunson or Towns for me, but I strongly prefer Towns.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Cat. I don't mind Josh Hart. The guy just plays 37 minutes a night. And I mean, you have to be on the court to have production. And like he's on the court so much. And I mean, again, the other night, he was 1 rebound away from his 4th straight double-double. So, I mean, 1 rebound away from another 35-plus point game at 6,100. So, I don't mind Josh Hart. I think that ceiling-wise, probably not the best ceiling play in the world, but he's a guy that's going to get you consistent production. Miles Bridges continues to produce off the bench, so I don't hate Miles Bridges or Miles McBride. I don't know what I was looking at or thinking of there, but McBride continues to produce really well. I really think they like him. in New York. Mikal Bridges is the one that starts. Maybe I was thinking of him, but yeah, I mean, for me, I don't mind Cat. I like Josh Hart's just playing a gazillion minutes a night. And I feel like Jalen Brunson is going to be like the forgotten person on this slate just because there's so many good plays. I don't necessarily love him, but I don't hate him either. On the Houston side, what do we like here for Houston?
I mean, I think we got to take a look at Şengün against Towns. Towns is not a very good defender at all. We know Şengün has a pretty massive ceiling if he hits. So yeah, definitely I'm fine with him at 8,100. I think I played Jalen Green the other night. It did not pan out against the Warriors, but I think you could go back to him. A little bit scoring dependent, but he's starting to do better with peripherals. So I think 7,600 is decent. I just hate this game, Stevie. So I'm not really getting to a lot of either side of this game.
Yeah, Eason and Thompson had huge fourth quarters the other night. Eason had over 20 fantasy points in the fourth quarter. Thompson had over 23 fantasy points in the fourth quarter. So I don't want to overreact to either one of those guys. I feel like they kind of let those guys stay out there and play because they were just. I mean, Eason had a 35 fantasy point stretch between the end of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So all that tells me is he was shooting and he wasn't missing, and he kept shooting and he wasn't missing. So, I mean, when you see a guy score 35 fantasy points in 12 minutes, that's just he got really hot. So until they like consistently give him solid minutes, I don't think I want to do it with Eason. They let Eason and Thompson play the overtime, and Şengün didn't come back in that game the other night against Golden State. So, I mean, overall, for me, I'm with you. I don't love this game. I feel like this is one of the worst games on the slate. Şengün and Green, they have the ceiling on any given slate. I think Jalen Green bounces back here. I feel like he just didn't get a lot of run because Thompson and Eason were just playing incredible. They brought Houston back in that game against Golden State and forced overtime, and Green just sat on the bench and watched it happen. So I think Jalen Green always has the ceiling. All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. I mean, I like this slate a lot more than the FanDuel slate.
Definitely,
I don't mind when it's like one or two extra games, and I don't have to research like a whole slate of things. But yeah, I mean, you look at the FanDuel slate and there's just so much more going on. I will say this though, if Rudy Gobert plays, he's dealing with an ankle injury. If he plays, Rudy Gobert against Charlotte on FanDuel is my guy. That's all I'm going to say. All right, morning grind game. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. We don't have as many as we have had. Who do you like?
I was gonna say that's pretty tough on this slate. It's under 5K, you said, right?
Yep.
David Roddy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's your like consistent like producer. I mean, Edie's down here if you want to take a shot on him.
I like him quite a bit too.
I mean, I don't love this question today. I want to see how some of the news kind of, pans out. But the one guy that I know if he shoots well enough, he can get there. Corey Kispert at 4,900. When he shoots well, I think that's the guy that really benefits. So that's who I'll say. I really think Ricochet is interesting from Atlanta because I don't think they necessarily take him off the court. I think they let him get some extra minutes if that game gets out of hand. Over 8K to go under 5X. Who's your bust today?
I'm going to go with Jalen Johnson. Absolutely love him as a player. I just think it's a really tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really tough spot. I mean, I feel like I've said this name a lot lately. And I know he's capable of putting up 50 on any given night, but give me LeBron James here at 9K. It's just a different offense with JJ Redick, and they look good. The Lakers look good. We'll see how it pans out throughout the year, but Anthony Davis looks good. LeBron looks good. He just doesn't need to shoulder the load as much anymore. Favorite 6X play? Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Ja.
Oh, all right. I like it. I'm going to go back to one of the early games that we talked about, and Peyton Pritchard at 5,200. Absolutely love him today. I think that this is just a spot with Jaylen Brown out that you're just playing him. Over 30 DraftKings points in 3 of the last 4 games, and now Jaylen Brown is out. So give me Pritchard at 5,200 at my 6X today. Favorite GPP ceiling play? Price doesn't matter. Ownership doesn't matter. Who do you think has the highest ceiling on this slate?
I will go with, I mean, I know I've said this a lot, but I'll go Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, again, we love what we're seeing with how the Lakers are running the offense through Anthony Davis. So I like it. I wrote down Ja, but you said him in your last answer, so I was trying to pick somebody else. I love Ja. I think Ja has a huge ceiling. Give me Damian Lillard. We've seen point guards do really well against Cleveland. He just put up 41 actual points against them the other night. Was it Saturday night? So give me Dame to have another big game against Cleveland in a game that should be very close. Let's get weird. GPP play of the day. Who do you got?
I'm not sure how weird. I mean, I'm going to go Walker Kessler.
All right.
I'm not sure how weird that's going to be, but you won't be chalk.
Oh, I don't think it'll be chalk either.
No.
I'm going to go Tyler Hero. I absolutely love this spot for Tyler Hero if he's shooting well. We've been taking 3-point shooters against Kings for years. It's a different Kings team, but I mean, it's just in my brain to keep taking 3-point shooters against the Kings. So give me Tyler Hero against Sacramento. I think that if he can get hot here, he'll keep shooting. He has a lot of upside. Betting portion of the show, do you have a over-under against the spread or money line bet that you like today?
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking the Lakers -6.5.
All right. He's like, I really like them against Detroit. I really wanted to take Boston like -10.5. Like, I think Boston crushes Atlanta today. But I don't know if I could take that. I don't think I could take that number. So I think I'm going to pass on. I'm going to pass on this question today. Nothing really like jumping off the board to me, and I don't like betting something if it's not something I think there's plus EV. So, do you have a player prop, or pick and play that you like today?
Not yet, because there are no Derek White props out yet, and there's no Zach LaVine props out yet. So those are two that I'll be looking out for, but they're not up yet. So I have nothing as of yet.
Yeah. Boston and Atlanta don't have any props up yet, so pay attention. See what we get for that. I mean, I'm going to keep betting this. I'm going to bet Anthony Davis over 27.5 points. I mean, I think I've betted almost every slate so far that they've played. It keeps winning. I think it's only missed one time, and it was the game against Cleveland, so to be expected. I like Anthony Davis over 27.5 points. I mean, again, they're running the offense through him. He's getting a ton of free throws. He's shooting the ball really well. Anthony Davis over 27.5 points. Keep doing it here. What's a good line for Gobert rebounds? I mean, I assume, is it up?
Yeah, they have it. They have
11.5. Yeah, I was
11.5. The juice is -130 on DK though.
Yeah, I mean, can you blame them?
No, I'm not saying it's wrong.
Yeah, I worry a little bit. I guess like if he plays, you don't necessarily worry too much about it, but I worry that like if the game gets out of hand, I think he crushes this if he plays his normal 30 plus minutes. I don't think I'd take it at 11.5. I would have taken it at 10.5. But if he wasn't hurt, I would easily bet that line. So if Gobert sits, man, Nas Reed should crush. So watch that. Tim, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, great hit with your main team on DK.
Yeah, it's a good night.
Yeah.
Hoping, I mean, right now I'm profiting on FanDuel, and I just kind of want this game to end because I don't think I have a lot of upside anymore because Pittman has 1 catch. So I'm just kind of the one team that's doing really well. I'm like, all right, well, don't knock out any other teams. Just, end this game. So we'll see how that all plays out. Hope everyone has a fantastic Monday. We're back Wednesday talking hoops. Enjoy Election Day. Enjoy your Monday, and we'll see you guys again on Wednesday.